Welcome to the Vue Smith Chart tutorial. The Syncfusion Vue Smith Chart is designed to visualize complex reflection coefficients through a polar plot. It clearly represents intricate data, aiding in the effortless comparison and analysis of transmission lines. In this video, I will show you how to add the Smith Chart component to a Vue app. You will see how to render the chart with different types of chart series and basic features like legends, data markers, labels, and tooltips. I will start the Vue application creation process using the Vue vite command. Make sure you have installed the latest versions of Vue and Node.js. I'll use Visual Studio Code as my editor and show the output in the Chrome browser. To create a project in Vue, open Visual Studio Code and type the npm create vite at latest command. I name the app my Vue app. Next, choose Vue as the framework and JavaScript as the variant. A Vue project is created. I navigate to the newly created Vue app and install the required dependencies using the npm install command. Now, the application is configured with the default settings of a Vite project. To use the Smith Chart component, I type the command npm install at Syncfusion/ej2 Vue charts -- save to install the package and its dependencies. Next, I must register the trial license key to use Syncfusion components. I open the main.js file and import the register license method from the Syncfusion ej2 base package. Using this method, I register the trial license key. For instructions on how to generate a trial key, refer to the link in the video's description. To add the Smith Chart component, I open the app Vue file and remove the default code. Then import the Smith Chart component from the Syncfusion Vue Charts package and add the EJS Smith Chart tag inside the template section. I save the changes and run the application using the npm run dev command. Checking now, the default Smith chart is rendered with no data points. Now I will show you how to populate the Vue Smith chart with data. In this example, as I am going to compare the impedance transmissions, I create a data source with resistance and reactance fields. Here, you can add data source to Syncfusion Vue Smith Chart series in two ways: points and data sources. Using points option, you can directly assign the data to series without mapping data fields to the chart, whereas for data source, it is necessary to map the data fields to appropriate properties. Here, I am going to use the points. For that, I need to add the eSeries collection tag, which receives n number of eSeries tags. As I plan to add a single Smith chart now, I add a single eSeries tag. To use these tags, I need to import the series collection directive and series directive modules from the Syncfusion ej2 Vue charts package. Then I define the points object with resistance and reactance fields, as these fields will be directly mapped to the Smith chart series to render a Smith chart. I assign this object to the points property of the eSeries tag. Looking here, the Smith chart displays the impedance transmission line. In the same way, I can bind the data source to the Smith chart using the data source property. To demonstrate, I will add one more eSeries tag inside the eSeries collection tag. To add the data source, I define the data source object with resistance and reactance fields. I assign this object to the data source property of the eSeries tag. For this data source type, I need to map the fields to the resistance and reactance properties explicitly. So I map the resistance field to the resistance property and the reactance field to the reactance property. Now you can see the Smith chart displaying two impedance transmission lines. To set a title for the chart, I define the title object and set the text property to impedance transmission. Then I assign this object to the title property of the Smith chart tag. See the title displayed in the chart. Next, let me show you how to add data markers and data labels to the Smith chart to display information about the data points. To display the data markers for the point series, I define the marker object and set the visible property to true. Also, I want to display data labels for this series. So I add the data label property and set the visible property to true. Then I assign this object to the marker property of the point. Likewise, for the data source, I define the marker2 object and set the visible property to true. I assign this object to the marker property of the data source series. Looking at the Smith chart now, you can see the data markers enabled for both the series. It also displays data labels for the data source. Now I'm going to add legends to the Smith chart. A legend contains information about the series in the chart. To add a legend, import the Smith chart legend module and inject it into the Provide section. I define the legend settings object and enable the visible property. Then I assign this object to the legend settings property of the Smith chart tag. I also set an appropriate name to the Smith chart series to show it as a label for those legend items. For clarity, I remove the data label property from the marker object. Checking now, the Smith chart renders with legends. Finally, I am going to show you how to make the Smith chart more interactive by adding tooltips to it. I import the tooltip render module and inject it into the Provide section. Then I add the tooltip object and enable the visible property. I assign this object to the tooltip property. See now, tooltips are shown when I hover over the data points of the Smith chart. In this video, I have shown you how to add the Syncfusion Vue Smith Chart component to a Vue application. I also showed you how to render the two types of chart series with the legend, data marker, data label, and tooltip features. If you want to try out the example used in this video, you can download it from the GitHub link in this video's description. I have also shared a link to learn about obtaining a free license key to use our Vue suite through our community license if you are eligible. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel.